Number 10. Solve the equation on the interval 0 less than or equal to theta less than 2 pi. And we're given sine of 2 theta plus sine of theta equals to 0. So when we're given a trigonometric equation, we want to do one of two things. We either want to get everything as a single function equal to a number, or we want to get multiplication so we can use that zero factor property. So here I have sine of 2 theta and sine of theta. First thing I want to do is to get our arguments the same. So I want to get either theta or 2 theta in both of my arguments, because that's going to make things a lot easier. Easiest way for us to do this is to use our double angle formula for sine and make sine of 2 theta into 2 times the sine of theta times the cosine of theta. Now that I've done that, I have a factor of sine in both of these terms. So I can factor that out. So it'll be the sine of theta times, well, here I'm left with just 2 in the cosine of theta, so 2 times the cosine of theta. And I factor sine out of sine, well, that leaves me with just 1. So it's going to be plus 1. Now, I know some people are tempted to write just 2 times the cosine of theta and don't add that plus 1. But remember, when we multiply this all out or expand it, we want to get back to our original equation. So I have to have that 1 there in order for me to get my sign back whenever I multiply. So now that I have two things being multiplied together, set equal to 0, I can use my zero factor property. And we want to do this because that splits to one function in each of our little equations, which is a lot easier for us to work with. So that gives me sine of theta equal to 0, and 2 times the cosine of theta plus 1 equals 0. Well, then I want to solve for our function so we could find these angles. So here, we already have just the function. So I'm going to go ahead and do this for our 2 cosine of theta plus 1. So I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides first, and then divide both sides by 2. So now we have just our functions set equal to a number. So now I'm going to use my unit circle to see what angles between 0 and 2 pi make my sine of theta equal to 0. Well, that's going to be theta equal to, well, 0 makes my sine function equal to 0. Pi makes my sine function equal to 0. And so does 2 pi. But we have to be careful. So our interval says that we're strictly less than 2 pi. So I'm not going to include that as part of my answer. So we're going to do just 0 and pi for our sine of theta. Then I want to look at my cosine of theta equal to 1/2. What angles between 0 and 2 pi make cosine of theta equal to -1/2? Well, that's going to be theta equal to 2 pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3. So all of the angles that we found that make my function equal to 0 will be my answer. So my answer will be 0, 2 pi over 3, pi, and 4 pi over 3. And that's the end for number 10.